Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of Geography Now. We're going to go through the list of all the internationally recognized sovereign nations of the world, and we're going to do it alphabetically, which means our first episode is going to be on Afghanistan. You know how in high school there's always like that one little emo kid that just kind of keeps to themselves and sits in the corner, but then about 10 years later at the reunion you find out they actually have a lot of friends and they're pretty cool? That's kind of like what Albania. Now just remember, when going to Algeria, once upon a time, Spain and France kind of had a baby, and that baby grew up to be one of Europe's most adorable little tax havens. This is Andorra. You know, I once went to Denmark and I bought a sandwich that was $21. In some parts of Angola, my Antigua don't want none unless you got Barbuda, son! Yeah, my first pop culture reference. I promise I'll never do that again.
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everybody, I'm your host Paul Barbato. Today we're gonna do Antigua and Barbuda. Alright, our first South American country. This is the land of silver. Kind of, not really. Welcome to Argentina. Oh my gosh, did you hear about Armenia? Alright everybody, let's just all get it off of our chests. Koalas and kangaroos, boomerangs, didgeridoos, Sydney, Melbourne, Uluru, crocodiles, cockatoos, everything that will kill you, shrimp on Barbies, that's not true, that Vegemite stuff that tastes like poo, coral reefs and platypuses, platypi, what's the plural of platypus? Alright, now let's actually learn about the freaking country.
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everybody, I'm your host Paul Barbato. Today's gonna be Australia. Always only vergessen. Wanns noch Österreich. Alright, we finally reached the last country beginning with an A. And that only took about, I don't know, like 3 months. Alright, here we go. Azerbaijan. Ah, the Bahamas. Bahrain.
Oh, sorry, I'm just headbanging to Bangladesh!
So, Rihanna's from here.
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everybody, I'm your host Paul Barbato, not Barbado. I grew up with that a lot as a kid. And today we're gonna upgrade us to the Barbados. Nieważne kolki ruski het ja ludzi кажуть, nie nazywać ich ruskaya.
It's time to learn geography now!
Ah, Belarus. Let me tell you a little story. Once upon a time, France had a son named Wallonia, and the Netherlands had a son named Flanders. One day, a bunch of crazy stuff happened in Europe, yada yada yada. After all the crazy stuff subsided, Flanders was like, hey, Wallonia. Yeah? I'm gonna move out of my parents' place, and I got this new rad apartment, but I kinda need another guy to help me pay for the rent. I don't know, you're kind of a cool guy, I guess. Would you like to be my roommate? Yeah, sure, I guess. Why not? But just for the record, I don't speak any Dutch. Oh, no worries, I don't speak any French. And that's how Belgium... If I told you, welcome to Latin America, the place where people speak English, and to a lesser extent German, you would call me crazy. Well, you'd best start believing that it's called Belize. Have you been in Benin? So one thing you might not know is that Bhutan... Hey Geography peeps, so I actually had the pleasure of going to Bolivia. You thought Belgium was confusing? Brother, please, if you want complication fanatics, come to Bosnia and Herzegovina. Bling bling, welcome to Diamond Town, Africa.
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everybody, I'm your host Paul Barbato. If there was ever an African comeback kid, Botswana. Hey Geography peeps, so Brazil, Brunei, Bulgaria. Hey Geography peeps, so we're back in Africa and you came just at the right time because as of the upload of this video, Burkina Faso, have any of you seen the movie Hotel Rwanda? Well, okay, so for like the two of you that have, reverse the tribes, flip the script backwards, and that's basically Burundi. Hey Geography peeps, so this episode is going to have some bad audio because I'm currently in my parents' basement filming this, not at the YouTube space, and the microphone we typically use doesn't fit into the audio jack in my camera, so just bear with me, and we're going to basically go back to the quality of Afghanistan.
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbie. This is our first country with the letter C, Cambodia. Testing, testing. Is this mic working? Testing. Nope, it's not. Alright, episode 2 with no audio. Here comes Cameroon. Here at Geography Now, we got over 40 people that emailed us to help out with this episode from Canada. Hey guys, I know this country is also known as Cabo Verde. Trust me, if you ever get lost here, the last thing you'll want is a compass.
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey guys, I'm your host Barbie. In this episode, we're just going to refer to this country as the Republic. Why? Because Bosnia and Herzegovina taught us the value of abbreviations. That being said, The flag of the Republic is made up of 5 multicolored bars, blue, white, green, yellow, and splitting the entire flag in the middle is a red bar. In the upper hoist side, you'll find a yellow star. The flag was intended to blend the French tricolors with the Pan-Africanist movement colors, the red applying for both. According to the official description, the blue represents the sky and freedom, the white represents peace and dignity, the green for hope and faith, and the yellow for tolerance. And guess what the red symbolizes? The blood of those who fought for the country! The star symbolizes the guiding steps towards freedom and emancipation. Keep in mind, there was a very messed up period of time in this country when they used to have this flag. Most Central Africans prefer not to talk about that. We will, but not yet. First, we have to cover the... In terms of location, the Republic is kind of like a double-edged sword. They are one of the most blessed and yet cursed places on the planet. First of all, just as the name suggests, the Central African Republic... The funny thing is, if it wasn't for Chad... Hey everybody, so if you're feeling kind of Chile... This episode is brought to you by 24hourandswers.com.
大家好，中国。
This episode is brought to you by 24hourandswers.com.
Hey guys, say hi to my friend Diego.
Hola muchachos.
He's a real Colombian. Okay, that's good enough. You can go now. Yeah.
Sí, thanks.
Yeah.
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey guys, want to know the best way to anger a Colombian? C-O-L-U.
Colombia!
So, as you guys know, you guys, the Geography peeps, usually help us write the scripts for these episodes for your countries. However, I couldn't find anybody from Comoros. Hey Geography peeps, okay, let's take a poll. Who here is old enough to remember when this country was named Zaire? Yeah? Alright, 90s kids, yeah! I feel so old.
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everybody, we've reached our first set of twin countries, the Congos, and you're in for a real treat because these two African states may seem very similar, but there's a strange story that kind of sets them apart. But first... The flag is a sky blue field with a yellow star in the left hoist side and cut diagonally by a red stripe with a thin yellow frame. The star symbolizes the radiant future of the country, the blue represents peace, the yellow frame for the wealth, and the red stands for... Look, I'm just gonna say, it's interesting that they claim a radiant future with peace and wealth because, yeah, let's just move along. Now, whether you're reading some Michael Crichton or some Tintin comics, the Congo has been romanticized and embellished in the pages of classical literature for centuries. Whenever you hear somebody referring to the Congo, they're most likely referring to the DRC. Even when you type in Congo on Google Maps and Google Earth, it just defaults to the DRC.
Hey, don't I get a say in this?
No. No, you don't.
The DRC is a large country located in the Central African area, bordered by 9 other countries, and is the second largest country in Africa after Algeria, and the largest in sub-Saharan Africa. The country has 10 provinces, and the city province of Kinshasa, even though the constitution mandates that there are like 26 provinces, but they haven't really gotten around to that. Capital Kinshasa is right across the mighty Congo River from Brazzaville, the capital of the Republic of Congo, making the two cities the world's closest capitals. Kinshasa is a huge city with millions of people and a weird 25-foot tall statue of the former leader Kabila that was constructed by North Koreans and has a suspiciously Kim Jong-il type of body. Side note, North Korea has a weird industry of manufacturing and exporting dictator statues. Unfortunately, there are no bridges that connect the two cities, so in order to cross, you will either have to take a ferry, which can be incredibly crowded and sketchy. Some tourists that visit Brazzaville go so far as to charter flights that go to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and then to Kinshasa to avoid the hassle, even though the distance is literally less than 7 kilometers or 4 miles apart. When you look at the DRC's borders, you'll notice that the further west you go, the land kind of funnels into this incredibly narrow panhandle known as the Bakongo province. This area just barely touches the Atlantic Ocean with a 32-kilometer wide coast and the town of Muanda that extends all the way to the seaport of Banana. That's right, they named the seaport Banana. However, don't let Banana fool you. Most cargo ships and freight vessels do not stop over here, and in order to receive bulk shipments, all cargo must travel up the Congo River to the ports on either Boma or Mitadi. Mitadi being the bigger one since they have a direct train line and highway that goes straight to Kinshasa. These two small ports are the main lifeline of the DRC's international trade sector. Speaking of which, only about 2% of the roads are paved, and due to the terrain of the Congo Basin, building roads and railways has always been a little difficult. Water transport has always been the dominant means of moving around, as nearly 2/3 of the entire country is navigable by rivers and creeks. In the south of the Katanga province, you have the Congo Pedicle, or the Katanga Boot, another narrow corridor that protrudes into Zambia, almost cutting it in half. The reason why this happened all had to do with the Belgian King Leopold II and the Berlin Conference. Basically, he claimed claimed the borders to ride along the Luapula River and the watershed between the Zambezi and Congo to be the southernmost borders of the country. But the whole thing was still a little hazy and unclear, so he invited the King of Italy to draw a straight line and then end it all, which the Africans had absolutely no consultation in. In fact, the reason why the country's domain is so big is mostly because King Leopold somehow ended up convincing the summit to allot him the entire area, widely unexplored, and in return making it a free state with open trade policies and no direct sovereign allegiance, but rather as his own personally controlled state. Basically, the entire country became his own twisted, messed up African playground. And that's where things got really messy. We'll talk about in the demographics, but first, we have to discuss the... Now, the one thing you have to understand is that the DRC is one of, if not probably the world's most resource-rich yet economically untapped and mismanaged country in the world. The country has everything, and yet so much is not being done. First of all, the country is generally divided into 5 physical regions: the Western region, the Congo Basin, the Kivu region, the Kasai, and the Katanga. The Western region is lush with deep vegetation and croplands. Most Congolese are subsistence farmers that survive off of what they can grow in the soil-rich area over here. Fishing is huge out here too. Fish is the most popular source of protein for the average person in this area, since the Congo River provides a variety of tropical species that are cooked in dishes, like one of the most favorite dishes in the area, makobe, which is wrapped in cassava or banana leaf and roasted with spices. Oh no, I think I may have incited something. I think I'm gonna go out for some Thai for lunch.
Thai? Oh, that is so 2009 basic. I prefer this fufu and maboke place. You probably never heard of it. It's around this tool shed behind an alley. You have to climb through the dumpster to get into the restaurant.
The Congo Basin is where you will find the world's second largest rainforest after the Amazon, the Congo Rainforest. This place is loaded and heavily packed with incredibly large amounts of plants and wildlife, including some of the rarest primates on Earth like bonobos and the lowland gorillas. Many species are endemic to the area, like the curiously looking okapi. This is also the area that has the largest amount of rain in the entire country, with an average of over 120 centimeters, and the DRC is also known for having the highest frequency of thunderstorms out of any other country on the planet. The Kivu region is known as the lake and volcano region, as it sits on many of the major lakes like Lake Kivu and Tanganyika, and 2 of the most active volcanoes in Africa, Mount Nyiragongo and Mount Nyamuragira, which make up about 40% of all documented African volcanic activity alone. Mount Nyiragongo alone has the world's largest lava lake nestled inside of the crater. Yeah, that is not a lake you want to jump in. It's also home to the tallest mountain in the country, Mount Stanley, that straddles the border with Uganda, and the 3rd highest peak in Africa after Kilimanjaro and Kenya. Then we reach the Kasai and Katanga regions. These areas are slightly drier yet still humid and lush with plants and rivers. However, they are most widely known for being the mining and mineral extracting regions of the country. Kasai known for their diamonds and Katanga known for their metals. Now let me just illustrate how much potential is found in the DRC. It's estimated that the entire country holds about $25 trillion worth of untapped minerals and ores. That's about the same amount as the GDP of the US and Europe combined. No joke. The DRC has the world's largest deposit of coltan, or a natural ore of niobium and tantalum, and over 60% of the entire world's cobalt stock. The country is very slow and cautious on how it goes about extracting these resources. In the past, there have been huge problems with both domestic and international looting from agents on both sides. To this day, the industry, although still booming, is relatively underdeveloped compared to what it could be. In a weird counteractive way, though, it also is kind of good because it kind of preserves the forests and wildlife, which is already threatened enough as it is. Overall, if you look at the satellite images of the country, you can tell that there's a ton of green. The country may have over 70 million people, but overall there's still a lot of land that hasn't even been exploited or destroyed yet. It isn't necessarily because the people are very environmentally conscious, though. It kind of has to do with administration, or lack thereof. Let's explain in... Alright, fun little quick side note. People typically distinguish if they are from the DRC or the RC by using the capitals in the titles, by saying they are either from Kinshasa for the DRC and Congo Brazza for the RC. Now you know. So in general, the DRC is a huge country with lots of different types of people groups. Let's just jump into it. The country has about 80 million people and is the 4th most populous country in Africa and one of the fastest growing. Now when it comes to ethnic distinction, the line is a little hazy because there are over 250 tribes and people groups. However, in general, about 80% of the country is made up of Bantu peoples. These all classify under the Bantu parent group, and the largest ones being the Mongo, the Luba, the Mangbetu Azande, and the Bakongo. The rest are non-Bantu groups like the Gilima, Mono, Adamawa, and so on. There's also a small percentage of pygmies that make up about 1% of the population, and barely 1% are whites, mostly Belgian and French Europeans. With all these people groups and dialects, you would think that communication would be difficult. However, fortunately, almost everybody in the country speaks French as an intercessory language, making the DRC the largest largest francophone nation in the world, even more than France itself. Yes, I know the Belgians took over, and yes, they did try to initially institute both Dutch and French as national languages, but it was a lost cause and French just kind of took over.
Why won't anybody learn Dutch?
Because every time we try to speak Dutch to you, you respond back in English. In addition, the DRC has 4 other official languages: Lingala, Swahili, Chiluba, and Kikongo. These languages are spoken in distinct regions. Lingala, the most commonly spoken language, can be found in the capital, Kinshasa, as well as pretty much all of the areas that flow along the Congo River to the north and northeast. Kikongo is spoken in the west all the way through the panhandle that goes to the coast. Chiluba is spoken mostly in the middle regions of the country, and Swahili is spoken all along the east and southeast parts of the country. In terms of statistics, the DRC is pretty underdeveloped and economically disadvantaged. Typically, the country ranks within the bottom 10 countries with the lowest GDP index scores. Only a little over 10% of the country even has access to electricity and running water. On top of that, the country is scattered with thousands of small tribal villages not even documented or even charted on maps. See how many you can find on Google Earth. Make it into a game.
Yes! 3 degrees latitude, 24 degrees longitude.
Also, due to the fact that the DRC was a huge provider of slaves that were dispersed around the world during the Atlantic and Arab slave trade years, it's highly contested that many modern dances and music styles across the world can be stemmed from this very region, since the slaves incorporated their traditional styles while performing. Calypso, jazz, reggae, rumba, merengue, and so many more all have roots possibly from Africa. Many speculate from the Congo area as well. Now we have to get a little controversial. Now, I'm not going to give you the whole story. I'll let John Green do that in this video right here. He does a great job. By the way, John, if you're ever free, let's hang out sometime. Waffles are on me. In a nutshell, things got pretty messed up, and the exact numbers are hard to calculate, but it's speculated that during the reign of terror of King Leopold, about half of the entire country's population of 20 million were killed. Furthermore, almost immediately after independence, things got messed up again, and regimes fought, and Mobutu took over and renamed the country Zaire. Then when he died, more craziness ensued, and the Congo Wars erupted, sometimes referred to as the African World War, sucking in every neighbor nation around them, and nearly 5.5 million people died, making it the most deadly conflict after World War II.
Wow, really? My textbook doesn't say anything about that.
That's because your school, like many others in the Western world, does not care about Africa, and it should! On top of that, internal conflict was bad enough. Both the Kasai and Katanga areas had a short secessionist movement, and for a brief 3 years, Katanga even became a breakaway state back in the 60s. Then another group attempted in 2013 called Mai Mai Bakata Takaka. Seriously, it would have been better if you guys just named yourselves Hlanvair Puthginget Kogera Kundrobo Hlantasilio Go Go Go. But no, you had to go with Putting all this into perspective, you can probably see why the DRC hosts the world's largest UN peacekeeping missions. Speaking of diplomacy, now, you might think that the DRC's relations are pretty complex, but if you look at the big picture, it all kind of makes sense. First of all, it's no surprise, but the DRC does get along with pretty much most Francophone countries. Even though the Belgians did leave a sour taste, they did kind of help unite the DRC with half of the entire continent through linguistic coherence. When it comes to Rwanda, it all kind of went down like this.
Oh, come here, Rwanda. I'll totally help you out with the crisis.
Rwanda essentially used the eastern side of the DRC for refugee camps during the Rwandan genocide, but also as a militia base for insurgent forces that would eventually invade the country. When it comes to Belgium, it's a little weird because yes, they generally don't favor them, but they still have privileged relationship statuses with them as well, with embassies in each country and regular flights between Kinshasa and Brussels. Of course, because of all the minerals, major world powers have been jumping on the Congo for decades. China, Russia, and the US have all given their shot at coaxing the Congolese for investment opportunities. Cameroon and Gabon are good friends to the west, and Kenya and Africa's favorite uncle Tanzania are good friends to the east. But when it comes to their best friends, they would probably have to go back to their twin and say the Republic of Congo. The two Congos are really the best friends and identify with each other closer than any other country in the world. There is a reason why they never decided to become one single Congo country though, and that will be discussed in the next episode. In conclusion, the Congolese will tell you that the DRC is both the richest yet poorest country on the earth. There's so much potential, but until things get straightened out, we'll just have to see what happens. Stay tuned, the Republic of Congo is coming up next. The Republic of Congo, also known as the DRC's smaller, richer, yet kind of angsty twin brother who totally had a thing for Russia for like 30 years.
It's time to learn geography.
Now! Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbie. Today we reached the second part of our twin country saga. In the last episode we talked about the massive Democratic Republic of Congo. Now let's head across the river and see what's on the other side, shall we? First off, the flag uses the Pan-Africanist movement colors and is the only one that utilizes a diagonal pattern. It's pretty simple, just a yellow diagonal band from the bottom left to the upper right, dividing two triangles, the upper one being green and the lower one being red. The green symbolizes the agriculture and forests, the yellow represents the friendship and nobility of the people, and the red stands for... Gotcha. The constitutional description actually leaves the red part unexplained and there is no official description. So that's that. Now let's dig in and see what else we can find. Now, even though the Congos are close and similar, they have a lot of backstory that separates them. Think of it this way. They both grew up in the same house, but went to different colleges and have different jobs. The DRC was like, psh, I have all the resources, I could just do whatever I want. But then whatever he wanted ended up in a continental war. Whereas the RC was like, psh, capitalism is the poison of society and I'm totally mobilizing a state-run proletariat. Which ended up in capitalism anyway, kind of. Anyway, the country is located in the central western part of sub-Saharan Africa, straddling the equator with a small coast on the Atlantic, with the inland areas sloping diagonally northeast along the Congo and Ubangi rivers. Bordered by 5 other countries, you would think it's 4, but remember, just like we discussed before, there's that little small Cabinda exclave that belongs to Angola. The country is divided into 12 departments and the capital, Brazzaville, named after a really charming yet controversial Italian guy, is located right across its twins capital, Kinshasa, on the Congo River and is recognized by its iconic landmark, Nabemba Tower, the tallest building in the country. You can literally see it from the other side of the river. Fun side note, if you look closely, the country's shape kind of resembles that of a demonic rabbit with 3 tails and a deformed back foot. Look, I tried my best. Now, unlike the DRC, the RC has a decently constructed coastal harbor at Pointe Noire, the second largest city. The problem is, unlike the DRC, the coast doesn't really have any rivers that assist major cargo transport, except for the Kuili River that doesn't really end up going anywhere important. So most shipments that arrive on the coast have to be transported either by truck or train to the other parts of the country. Speaking of which, the most important railway in the country, the Congo Ocean Railway, built in the 30s, connects Pointe Noire with both Brazzaville and Mbinda along the border of Gabon. This train operates both freight and passenger cars that have helped the country develop exponentially in the past century. It's okay though, because the DRC totally lets them use their coastal entrance on the Congo River for imports to Brazzaville. It really is like,
we're brothers, we're happy and we're singing and we're colored. Give me a high five.
Also, unlike the DRC, the country is also heavily urbanized. About 80% of the entire population only lives in a few major cities and towns along the train tracks, whereas the rest of the country is kind of sparse and empty. The entire Likuala department has no road access to the rest of the country, and the only way to get in is to either go by river or by airplane. You know, you're actually better off just going to the Central African Republic, flying there, and then taking a boat down the Ubangi River instead of going through the jungles. The country has 2 international airports, one in Brazzaville and the other in Pointe Noire, as well as various unpaved landing strips for the remote communities outside of urban centers. As a former French colony, the RC has historically acted as a central hub for the Atlantic slave trade in the French division. With its useful harbor and convenient access to the inland regions, this country served as a strategically advantageous territory to both the inhabitants and the outsiders. Things get a little crazy the further inland you travel though. Let's talk about that now in... The physical makeup of the RC is kind of like Mozart's Requiem. It starts off great and bold, but then the further you go, it just kind of stops and you have to kind of guess what the last part is. Oh, sorry, I forgot kids kind of watch this show. It's like the Lemony Snicket books and trying to figure out the story behind Beatrice. In a nutshell, as an equatorial country, the climate is typically warm and humid year-round. There are 2 rainy seasons, one taking place from March to May and the other from September to November, while June and August is typically the driest season. First of all, the country is generally flat along the coast and inland, with the higher points being in the central and conveniently named Plateau Department, with rolling hills and tame cliffs. Way up north, close to Gabon, you can find the highest mountain, Mount Nabemba, in the Mayumbe mountain chain. This whole area kind of acts as like a natural barrier to the lush jungle interior. Once you go past the plateau, there's no turning back. You've pretty much reached guerrilla territory. One of the reasons why the north and eastern regions of the country are so empty and sparse is partially because it's really hard to build settlements there. The ground is incredibly moist and swampy with few promising spots for construction. Most of the Likuala department remains unexplored today and is home to some of the densest concentrations of wildlife in all of Africa, especially around Lake Tele. This place has a creepy backstory. It's incredibly difficult to get to this eerily circular-shaped lake, and the tribal locals in the area will swear upon the stories of the Mokele Mbambe living there. Mokele Mbambe is described to be a massive reptilian creature with a long neck and tail somewhat resembling an apatosaurus. Basically, it's the African Loch Ness Monster. Although it's never been photographed or documented, an explorer came across a group of pygmies in 1959 claiming to have killed and eaten one. Yeah, these jungles are crazy, and just wait till we get to Papua New Guinea. Otherwise, primates make up a huge portion of the wildlife. Over 100,000 lowland gorillas are said to have inhabited the entire area, specifically in the Sangha department. The country is located with rivers and confluences like the beautiful Lufulakari Falls that branch out in every direction. If you look closely at a satellite image, you will notice though that a lot of the land has been deforested, especially in the south and central areas. For a long time, the country was dependent on its lumber industry as its main export, but after the oil boom, logging actually has been relatively lowered, and you can see the green vegetation claiming its domain adjacent to the tributaries and reservoirs that feed through the flat plains. Yeah, speaking of which, the country has seen a huge oil boom in the past few recent decades. In fact, at over 80%, oil and petroleum make up the majority of the country's export sector, especially with offshore reserves discovered shortly after independence. In fact, even though the RC is about 14 times smaller than the DRC, they have about 3 billion more in public revenue. Unlike their twin brother, agriculture doesn't play that much of a major role in the economy. Yes, most people live off of subsistence farming, but a larger portion of the country thrives off of industry and service jobs. The RC's GDP per capita is about 8 times higher than that of the DRC, and their overall international GDP index is about 60 spots higher. In short, they're a little more financially stable. Unfortunately, managing business can still be a challenge sometimes. Let's talk about the ones who run this country. Now, don't be fooled. Yes, the people in the RC speak French and Lingala and enjoy the same music and cinema, and they have relatively the same diets and traditions, but hundreds of years of outside influence has forged a distinct dichotomy between the Republic of Congo and its brothers. First of all, the country has about 5 million people and is one of the most urbanized countries in Africa. The country is almost completely made up of Bantu peoples, which are divided into sub-tribal groups, the largest ones being the Congo peoples at around 48%, the Sangha people at around 20%, and the Teke at 17%, and the Mbochi at 12%. About 2% of the country is indigenous Pygmy, however exact estimates are a little hazy, and the remainder of the country is mostly white French or Europeans with small communities of other groups like East Asians and Middle Easterners. Now yes, about 60 different languages and dialects are spoken in the country, however getting by is easy. The country's main official language that everybody speaks is French, with 2 other official languages, Lingala and Kituba, which is basically just an intelligible dialect of the same Kikongo language spoken in the DRC. Culture-wise, the people are mostly descended from the Congo Kingdom, which was split up by the Europeans during colonization. Respect for age is a major theme with customs. Older people get titles like Yaya, which means something like big brother or sister. Even though they're only 2 months older than you gotta refer to them like that. And never call elders by their real name. Even if she's not your real mom, you're supposed to call your friend's mom, mom, or auntie, and the same goes for dads. Never interrupt an elder, but you can use uncles and aunties to intercede for you. Now, one thing that has really shaped the social structure of the country would have to be the path that it took after independence. Now, as you know, the RC was once a French colony, but after independence, the Soviets rushed in as quickly as possible and coerced the country to try out this new little thing called communism. And after an immediate coup that lasted only 3 days, the country decided, hey, let's align ourselves with the Eastern Bloc and follow a scientific socialist ideology influenced by the Soviets. They renamed themselves the People's Republic of Congo, used this flag inspired by the Soviet flag, and mobilized the military. And that's how, like Angola and Mozambique, the RC became the former Soviet Union's jolly little partner down south. China, North Korea, North Vietnam, and Cuba stepped in and introduced themselves. Keep in mind, this was before the Sino-Soviet split in the Vietnam War. Cuba even sent in troops to help train the militia, which would one day eventually overthrow the leader for another one, even though the country has a holiday named after that leader that they assassinated. Eventually, this led to a weird 3 decades of political repression and economic tension that ended with the expiration of the Friendship Pact in 1991 after the fall of the Soviet Union. Then things were a little awkward. They were like,
So, I guess we're not like socialist or communist or whatever anymore.
nah man, I guess not.
So should we like have a democracy or something or stuff?
Sure, yeah man, why not? But then this guy was like, nope, and started a civil war. To this day, the country operates under a one-party democratic system that pretty much puts Sasu, who originally ruled under the Soviet Pact, in power indefinitely. This, of course, has caused a lot of conflict and protest, which still lingers to this day. So, as you can see, the country has a weird historical and politically driven social construct infused with French foregrounds, yet a communist undertone. Weird, right? And this is just one of the reasons why the RC and DRC, although really close culturally, have never really decided to become one country. Although the thought has been entertained, the political atmosphere and domestic conflicts of each nation have kind of inadvertently hindered them from really moving forward with a union plan. It's also partially why a bridge has still yet to be built between the two, out of fears that any future political uprisings would probably end in destroying it. Nonetheless, as crazy as things got, they still know how to reach out to the rest of the world and to other countries, some of which we will discuss in... So as you can probably guess from the demographics, the RC is mostly distinguished from its twin brother by the entourage it's built up. As mentioned before, the RC was aligned with the Soviet bloc as well as the other communist-influenced states across the world. Russia and China both have embassies and relations. Australia and South Korea are some of the largest trade partners though, stepping up in the 90s, and today the RC is one of the largest exporters of oil to South Korea. Of course, the Francophone nations are mostly close as well. The RC will never turn down a party from Gabon or Cameroon. Everybody loves Cameroon. And although they're a little far off, the Ivory Coast is like, "What's up, cuz?" To which the RC is like, "Yo, you need to stop over more often, man. I got these killer dinosaur burgers I want you to try." In terms of their best friends, however, once again, they would probably say the Democratic Republic of Congo. These two brothers have been with each other through thick and thin even before colonialism. They speak the same, they eat the same, they live the same. It's just, one side has a few ideas about social trajectory that differ from the other. In conclusion, the RC may be smaller than its twin brother, but it definitely does not waver in stories to tell, places to see, and legends to explore. Stay tuned! Costa Rica is coming up next. Costa Rica. This episode is brought to you by Live Me. Yes, Game of Thrones was filmed here.
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbie. We are back in Europe, and today we are going to discuss 101 Dalmatian islands. Ha! Actually, it's more like 580. But first, the flag of Croatia. This episode is brought to you by Live Me. Guys, I'm not even joking. If you've never had a Cubano sandwich, just stop. You're doing everything wrong with your life. Just go pause the video, get one, come back here and press play, all right?
It's time to learn geography now!
It's the mustard. Oh. Hey Geography peeps, I'm your host Barbie. So if you've been following us on our updates, you'll know that this will be the first episode without a flag section, but don't worry, we will be doing Flag Fridays, so you can learn about the flag on Fridays. But until then, let's jump into the political geography of Cuba. 1 country, 2 sides, 3 exclaves, 4 people groups, and a lot of confusing lines that can give even the most seasoned Uber driver a level 5 seizure.
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbie. If you don't know anything about Cyprus, all you really have to...
Hey Barbie.
Yeah.
How old are you?
Do you remember Czechoslovakia?
Check a what?
Yeah, I was alive for that.
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbie. We have reached our last and final country, starting with a C, the Czech Republic. Remember in the Angola episode I mentioned how I went to Denmark? Look, I get it. The puns kind of write themselves for this one, but seriously, you'll be mesmerized and want to explore all over once you get a good look at Djibouti. No, this is not the Dominican Republic. That episode is coming after this one. However, don't click away. You're gonna love seeing what this place has in store, I promise.
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbie, and I'm gonna have to call it out again, guys. This is a tripster nation. I'm not even joking. You will want to come here. I guarantee it. Alright, first off, Dominica. Hey everybody, if you've never heard a Dominican talk, and if you understand and speak English, this is roughly kind of what it's like to be a Spanish speaker listening to a Dominican, and welcome to the DR.
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbie. If you're going to know anything about the Caribbean, you're gonna have to know about the DR. This is where so much began and revolutionized the entire Western world. That's a tall order. Now let's start sailing this ship. Christopher Columbus may have arrived in the Bahamas first, but the DR is the place where everything with European colonialism in the Western Hemisphere began. First of all, the country is located in the Greater Antilles Archipelago in the Caribbean region, taking up 2/3 of the island of Hispaniola that it shares with Haiti to the west. Located just southeast of Cuba and east of Jamaica, right across the Mona Passage from Puerto Rico, the country is divided into 31 provinces, and the capital Santo Domingo lies on the south side of the island and acts as a national district. The island owns and operates minor islands and islets off the coast, the largest ones islands being the Islas Beata, Catalina, and Saona, which has a lot of starfish, all on the south side of the country. Both by area and population, the DR is the second largest country in the Caribbean and is the most frequently visited of all the Caribbean countries. Yeah, sorry, step up your game, guys. Calypso and Carnival aren't enough now. Now, before Columbus came, the island was inhabited primarily by Taino peoples that were divided into 5 chiefdoms, or cacicascos. They were Marien, Mawa, Mawana, Harawa, and Hiwe. To this day, the DR occupies land that historically belonged to all the chiefdoms, while Haiti only inhabits parts of Marien and Harawa. Now let's rewind a little bit and go back to Santo Domingo, shall we? Santo Domingo in itself is paramount to the identity of the DR, let alone the Western world. This is the site where so many things started. Founded by Christopher Columbus's brother, Bartholomew, Santo Domingo was the very first permanent European settlement in the Americas. Yeah, nice try, Vinland. A for effort. The very first hospital, cathedral, monastery, university, sewer system, fortress, and even castle were all constructed here. Santo Domingo also claims to be the final resting place of Christopher Columbus's body. However, the Spanish kind of disagree. It kind of goes like this.
Okay, Dominican Republic.
Imagine Portugal is having a family reunion. You got the Brazilians dominating the conversation, Angola and Mozambique are off in the corner, and Cape Verde is joking around with Sao Tome and Principe. Then some random Asian dude walks in wearing a scarf, holding a guitar, and chewing on a betel nut. Welcome to the party, East Timor. Hey everybody, say hi to Cindy. She is the only Ecuadorian I know.
Wow, I'm so excited to be in geography now. This is so cool.
Yeah, I know, right?
Hey Barbie, can I?
Go ahead.
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbie. We're going straight to the belly button of the planet, and we have to be a little careful because it's been known to erupt frequently. Let's jump in. The República del Ecuador. Hey guys, meet my friend Mohab.
Oh, hey everyone.
He's a real Egyptian. Tell us, Mohab. Egypt. Guys, I live in Los Angeles, home to one of the largest Salvadoran populations outside of El Salvador. Once upon a time, Spain was all like, I'm gonna take over the Americas. Yeah, that's where all my glory is gonna shine. What? Okay, look, just go play with Western Sahara or something, okay? Just don't bother me, okay? I'm investing in your bigger brother that I care so much more about. And that child grew up to be Equatorial Guinea. Yes, they eat the same food, look the same, have the same religion, speak kind of the same, and have the same general historical roots. But do not call these people Ethiopians.
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbie. Did you know that Italy tried to take over parts of Africa? Yeah, and it didn't last that long, and it didn't end very well. But it happened. But first, Eritrea. Once upon a time, there was a nerdy girl in school who was always getting picked on. One day, the school had a talent show. She took off her glasses and sang with a passion beyond all comprehension. Every guy asked her out after that. That's basically Estonia. Hey everybody, say hi to Samri. She is a real Ethiopian.
Hi, everyone.
Sammy, are you ready to make Ethiopia? Guys, it has been almost 2 years since we last filmed the country in Oceania. Do you have any idea how long that playlist has been alone and frightened without any friends to console them? Well, finally, today, we break history in Australia. Say hi to your new friend, Fiji! Ah, Finland. Alright guys, this is going to be the most controversial video I've made since Armenia and Azerbaijan. As you know, we follow the alphabetical English list of countries in the UN. That being said, as the UN, EU, European Council, and NATO all give the same title for this country, this episode is going to go under F for former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia. However, I will refer to this country as the Republic of Macedonia, as over 130 countries call it that on their own terms, and because it's shorter and easier to say. Okay? Are we good? Cool?
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbie. For those of you who know nothing about this country or why I'm trying to take so many precautions, basically all you have to know is that in almost every aspect, this place is actually pretty plain, simple, and chill. It's just the name that starts all the drama. You might be wondering why. Well, we will explain in a bit, but first, let's talk about where it is. So, the Republic of Macedonia. Am I good? I know you don't like it, but can you just at least maybe tolerate it if I just use that title for this video for abbreviated purposes? No problem. Please, just continue your lesson. Thank you. So, the Republic of Macedonia is kind of like a country that got mixed up, tossed around, flipped, turned upside down, and I'd like to take a moment just sitting right here to tell you how this country became a place with such an affair. Oh, high five! First of all, the country is landlocked and located in the Balkan Peninsula of Southeast Europe, surrounded by Bulgaria, Greece, Albania, and depending on which side of this sovereignty debate you stand on, Kosovo and Serbia. Guys, it's the Balkans, Europe's most dysfunctional family. The country is divided into 9 regions, with the capital Skopje located in the
north-central part of the country where a quarter of the entire population lives. It's also the historical birthplace of Mother Teresa, and in the city square it has a statue of Alexander the Great. Look, they immortalized Alexander the Great in their land. Oh, and they named their airport after him too. The country has only two main civilian airports, Skopje Alexander the Great International and Ohrid St. Paul the Apostle International by Lake Ohrid. Ohrid is a popular tourist and vacation spot, however the second and third largest cities are Bitola, Kumanovo in the northeast of Skopje. The E75 highway is the longest and busiest road that traverses the entire country north to south. Fun little side note, in the Republic of Macedonia, the sidewalks are actually used for both walking and parking. To this day, the legacy of the Ottoman times is well preserved in places like the Gazi Hajar Kadi Mosque in Bitola. Tetovo is kind of like the Albanian capital of the country, as it has the highest Albanian population in the country, adorned with geometric and floral motifs all over. In the west, we reach the strange town / micronation of Vevchani, which declared itself its own republic and even has its own currency called the Linchnik. Now, if there's any structure that just straight up dominates the landscape, though, it would have to be monasteries, churches, fortresses, and mosques. I did 4 like this. That's weird. This is how I made a 4. One's like St. John the Baptist Monastery, which supposedly has the forearm of St. John the Baptist, embellished with extremely intricate wood carvings in the interior. The Kale Fortress in Skopje and the Tsar Samuel Fortress in Ohrid stick out too. So those are some of the most notable sites, but you're probably still wondering, okay, that's nice, but what does any of this have to do with the country's controversial name? We'll explain that in a little bit in the demographics section, but first, let's slowly keep you distracted from the inevitable rage fest by telling you more about the pretty mountains and rivers and stuff. Alright, let's have one more round of plain objective fact reporting before the gray zone of doom comes up in the next section. In the simplest way I can put this, the country is about 80% mountainous and basically split in half by the longest river, the Vardar, that flows north to south and emptying in the Aegean Sea. On the west of the river, you have the Dinaric Alps with the tallest peak, Mount Korab, along the border of Albania. The general South Balkan region that the country lies on sits on the subduction zone between the European and African plates, caught right in the Mediterranean. Therefore, the Republic of Macedonia is subject to some earthquake activity every so often. The Republic of Macedonia is famous for 2 things: tobacco and opium. The opium here is the national treasure, which has disputably the highest quality in the world, with about 14 morphine units per specimen. Yeah, sorry Afghanistan. Hang in there though, you're doing good. The crop is mostly used for pharmaceuticals and transported all over Europe. There's also the Pesha Cave in Makedonski Brod, which is famous for looking like Helm's Deep in Lord of the Rings. Close by Skopje, you can't miss the Matka Valley with the canyons. Of course, the prize trophy of the country would have to be Lake Uldrade, one of the oldest and deepest lakes in Europe with over 200 different endemic species, including the Uldrade trout, which is one of the national animals. Some national dishes include meat pie and ivar relish made of crushed bell peppers and garlic, sometimes referred to as vegetable caviar, even though sometimes Serbians will say that they created it. And that's about it. Stay tuned. France is coming up next. Oh yeah, how did this country get their whole name controversy dispute thing right? Oh boy, well, here comes the train wreck. I'll do my best. Transition. Oh boy, this is gonna be just dandy. No matter what I say in any angle in this section, someone is gonna disagree and throw sharp objects at me. But this is my job. This is the life I chose. Come on, Barbie, you can do this. Just, hey, we haven't done a Bob Saget joke in a while. Duh, I'm Bob Saget. I wear dad pants and I once sat on a pizza. Okay, first of all, the country has about 2 million people and was the only former Yugoslav republic to gain independence without any bloodshed. About 65% of the nation identifies as ethnically Macedonian, and a quarter are Albanians, and the rest are made up of groups like Turks, Romanis, Serbs, and Bosniaks. The currency is also the Macedonian dinar. They use the CEF type outlets, and they drive on the right side of the road. Now let's begin the discussion. First of all, what exactly are some distinguishing traits of people that identify as Macedonian? Well, for starters, just like we explained in the Bulgaria episode, they have Slavic roots and speak a Slavic-based language that is very similar to Bulgarian. Most people in both countries can understand each other just fine, and many have relatives and family that live in each other's countries. The people of this country have been tossed around over and over again in the past millennia, and it wasn't until the Balkan Wars that things really got cracking. For those of you who don't know, the Balkan Wars basically just went like this. Oh no, we don't like the Ottomans. Let's fight them. Yeah. What the? We had an agreement. You screwed it all up. You're all dead. And that's about it. Essentially, the area that takes up the parameters of modern-day Republic of Macedonia were sort of the product of Yugoslavia after World War II. First, they were called Vardar Banovina, and then it became the Socialist Republic of Macedonia. To this day, Macedonians claim that they are descendants of Alexander the Great and the ancient Macedonians that were mixed in with the Slavic tribes that migrated into the area in the 6th century AD. Then in 1991, Yugoslavia broke up, and that was when the whole modern mess with Greece really heated up. I mean, it was already kind of heated before that, but this just made things a lot worse. To this day, Greece deliberately opposes the usage of the title Macedonia, as they claim the name is historically inseparable from Greek heritage, and they are the only ones that have the right to use the name, let alone the symbols. And shortly after they said that, the Republic of Macedonia started to use the symbols. Yeah, that didn't really help the conflict. One thing that both Greeks and Macedonians can agree on is that historically, there was a region called Macedonia that expanded under Alexander the Great all the way from the Balkans to India. Where they disagree on is who the Macedonians and Alexander the Great really were, which, I'm gonna try my best, kind of went like this. You guys are constructing a narrative and appropriating our heritage and symbols, and it all started with Tito. Macedonia is an inherently Greek title, and you guys are not Greek, let alone Hellenistic in any way. We never claimed to be Greek, and neither was Alexander the Great. He was ethnically Macedonian, which was a separate, distinct group apart from the Greeks, which mixed in with our Slavic forefathers after they arrived centuries later. Dude, the Macedonians were Greeks. They spoke Greek, they had the same culture, they worshipped the same gods, they spread the Greek language across the empire. Alexander the Great was taught by Aristotle. They were Greek. Yeah, he spoke Greek. He also spoke Persian and a ton of other languages. And if they were Greek, why would they go to war with a ton of other Greek cities so often? He spoke the original Macedonian language first and then promulgated the Greek culture as it was seen as advantageous. That's just a lie your leaders have told you to set a footing for future claims against Greek territory. Macedonia has been in the name of our North region for over 3,000 years, with real Greek Macedonians today living in that area. Yeah, that totally explains the actions of Ioannis Metaxas in 1913. I knew you would bring that up. Look, I know that was tragic and horrible, but it's completely irrelevant to the actual documented, archaeologically corroborated historical facts that you can't deny. Then clearly you need a history lesson. No, you do! You do! You do! So, guys, the Pirin region. Disclaimer, this is pretty much just what the government and radical nationalists say. Most of the general Greek and Macedonian populations don't even really care too much about this issue. To this day, the UN, EU, European Council have all somewhat sided with Greece, agreeing to appoint the title Former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia. Many Greek and Macedonian politicians have said that they would maybe be willing to settle on a new compound country name that deliberately distinguishes the country apart from the word Macedonia. Some suggestions include Slavo-Macedonia, Upper Macedonia, or Northern Macedonia, but for now, the one that kind of unofficially stands at a somewhat not perfect but not too rage-inciting national title is the Republic of Macedonia. Whew! So anyway, Macedonians love wrestling and handball. Wrestler Saban Trstena being considered a national icon as he won a gold medal in 1984. The men's handball league made 4 appearances in the World Championships. Some notable Macedonians throughout history include poet Blaise Koneski, Kol Nedeljkovski, painter Peter Manzev, pianist Simon Turpchevsky, Academy Award-nominated director Milcho Manchevsky, and of course, even though she was ethnically Albanian, Mother Teresa was born in Skopje. Alright, I think it's time to move on. Let's jump into diplomacy. Well, as you can probably guess, the Republic of Macedonia is kind of surrounded by neighbors that all have some kind of issue with them. The general stereotype is that Serbia doesn't recognize their church, Bulgarians don't recognize their sovereignty, Albanians don't recognize the western border, and Greece, yeah, you can kind of already guess. However, it's the 21st century, and the millennial generation really doesn't care too much about their grandparents' drama. Borders are totally open, people travel back and forth between these countries, and trade is consistent as long as you got a good bottle of Balkan wine to share. Serbians are generally close, as their split from the Republic was the only one without bloodshed. Even though some political points are disputed, they're still cool. And Bulgaria is like the country where the Republic of Macedonia kind of sneaks into the EU through a loophole in the passport system, in which you can totally qualify if you have family in Bulgaria, which many Macedonians do. Turkey still gets along nicely with them, however, it's been favoring Albania and Kosovo a little bit more these days. They're best friends, however, and out of all the Macedonian geographies I asked, more or less, most of them agreed that Croatia and Bosnia and Herzegovina are probably their closest ally. These two countries all shared a deep history of being former Yugoslav republic states that go way back. Have you ever had friends that you made while you're all being punished for something at the same time? Yeah, that's kind of how it is with these guys. They've seen so much struggle and hardship together and still managed to smile back at each other the entire time.
It's like Breakfast Club.
Yeah, it's like Breakfast Club. In conclusion, just saying the word Macedonia incites a lot of opinions and frustrations with certain groups of people. And I'm not gonna pretend like I have an answer to all this. The Balkans will always be indescribably complicated. It's just interesting how a simple name can cause so much uproar. Names matter. Let that be a lesson for you today. Restez à l'écoute, France sera le prochain. Comme certains d'entre vous le savent, en 8e de mois est français. J'ai donc en quelque sorte une obligation d'honorer mon héritage.
It's time to learn geography
now! Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbie. France. Okay, I have 3 seconds to impress you enough to not get bored with another obscure African country video. This place has surfing hippos! And...
It's time to learn geography
now! Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbie. Okay, so here's the deal. I know a lot of you guys are kind of like dismissing all the other smaller obscure African countries, and you're just waiting for the big guys like Russia and India. However, Africa is an incredibly crucial continent to learn about because without it, humanity kind of wouldn't exist. So shut your yapples and cram this in your brain pipes. Let's find out stuff about Gabon. It's the Gambia. Alright, let's learn about Georgia. Alright. Lederhosen, Schnitzel, beer, bratwurst, order, bread and beer, complicated history beer, no humor, EDM, and gummy bears that will kind of like give you diarrhea, but it's like worth it. Ugh, those are such horrible stereotypes that every German is so sick and tired of hearing.
One gummy bear?
It's time to learn geography
now! Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbie. So, we've conquered Belgium's castle, jumped through Denmark's lagoon, danced through France's forest, and now we've made it to the final boss of the EU, Kingpin Germany.
Hey Barbs, I'm thinking about going to Africa. Where do you think I should go?
Oh, I think you're Ghana. You're the one that I want. You're the one that I want. Ooh, 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 you're the one that I want. You get my reference, right? You get it? I'm so clever, right? Do you get my reference?
It's time to learn geography
now! Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbie. Greece. It's pronounced Grenada. Just for the record, people, yes, Mayans still exist. The empire ended, but the people are still fully alive and well. Just throwing that out there, okay? All right?
It's time to learn geography
now! Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbie. We are back in the Latin world, and this time we jump into the land shrouded in ancient wonder and really good tamales. Moving on. Fun little side note, the word Guatemala... Okay, I promise I'm gonna try really hard not to make any distasteful Ebola jokes in this one, but yeah. I'm just saying this place kind of wins the gold medal for things that freaked out the entire world in 2014.
It's time to learn geography
now! Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbie. These next 2 episodes are gonna cover the Fraternal Guinea... Just be honest, you really don't know anything about this place, do you? That's okay. I'm here to pretend like I do for you.
It's time to learn geography
now! Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbie. Alright, last episode you saw the bigger, Frenchier twin Guinea. Now we meet the feisty, passionate, Portuguese-influenced sister Guinea-Bissau. You know how Singapore is like the Switzerland of Asia? Well, Guyana... I've actually been to Haiti. Guys, I'm not gonna make any puns in this episode. At this point for Geography Now, cheesy stuff like that is just under us. Have you ever had a strange neighbor that moved into your block with no relatives around, had a weird accent, and had weird decorations posted all over their yard? Yeah, that's basically Hungary. Guys, as you know, I went to Iceland. So, we have finally encroached upon the giant India. Hey everybody, so if you don't know anything about Indonesia, do not call most of these people Arabs.
It's time to learn geography
now! Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbie. Okay, let me break this down so you can quickly get the distinction. You've heard of Persia, right? The Persian Empire, Persian rugs, Persian cats, the Prince of Persia, which by the way, Disney got incredibly accurate. Yes, Persia is pretty much synonymous with Iran. Guys, let's be honest. When I say Iraq... Hey everyone, we reached the land of 1/8 of my own heritage, Ireland. Alright, this is gonna be the most controversial video I've ever made. Even saying the word Israel... Well, I'm personally excited because today we cover the country where 1/4 of my heritage comes from, Italia. There's a really strange fact about Michael Jackson in this video. You'll have to find out by watching this video. Ha! You can't click away. I got you curious.
It's time to learn geography
now! Bonjour à tous, je suis votre hôte Barbie et je sais, j'aurais pu faire cette vidéo plus tôt sous la lettre C pour Côte d'Ivoire. Jamaican subscriber Ashley P sent me this book of Jamaican patois poems by Luis Bennett. Here's a poem about a time a circus came to Kingston and a lion escaped from its cage. What a magic, what a mystery. Circus lion boss him bound, and the crowd don't get excited, and the crowd is safe and sound. Jamaica people grand me child, Jamaica people bowl, fi face the king obese with everything under control. The lion bust the cage door down, the lion jumped the wall, and not a soul done holla out, and not a soul done bawl. The lion mingle with the crowd and prowl from west to east. The people sitting calmly and salute the king obese. I love patois.
It's time to learn geography
now! Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbs, Jamaica. This is one country I barely have to introduce you to. Let's just get it over with. Sushi, geishas, karate, temples, ramen, anime, sumos, weird stuff, weird cosplay, poison fish, and I'm not even gonna ask about that. Dewa, ikimasho!
It's time to learn geography
now! Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbs. We have reached the land of the rising sun, Asia's island powerhouse, and home to a culture that I'm sure you've heard of. Let's just jump into it. Ah, Japan. Imagine you're watching like 3 couples arguing as you sip your tea. Eventually, Protective Services takes away their children. You are like the only person that signed up for foster care, so the authorities drop off like 8 kids at your doorstep. Oh, and you're kind of like on welfare, even though you're a doctor. Yeah, that's basically Jordan. Guys, no, I'm not gonna do a Borat impression, okay? That movie didn't even have a single Kazakh person in it. They filmed the Kazakhstan. Hey, Ken!
Yeah?
Yeah. Kiribati. What's the biggest difference between North and South Korea? Well, for one, I'd say watch their news broadcasts and take note on how they talk about their leaders. 조선민주주의인민공화국. 여러분, 안녕하십니까? 오늘 특별한 손님을 모시고 왔습니다. 제 어머니입니다. Come on in, mom. 엄마, 자기소개 부탁합니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 폴 엄마입니다.
That's it? We've reached the last and final country of my own personal heritage, so I figured why not go out with a bang and bring my own mom on the show. You're gonna love her, and if you don't, I'll basically kill you.
It's time to learn geography
now! For the record, yes, my mom speaks English, and whenever she comes on screen, we'll most likely speak Konglish with each other since my Korean skill level is equivalent to a 5-year-old that got electrocuted in the brain. Nonetheless, that's okay! This episode will be a piece of chapsartok. Let's begin. Now, if you haven't already seen the North Korea episode, I suggest you do because it covers some of the context you'll need for this episode. Anywho, first of all, South Korea. Hey everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of Geography Now. Thanks for your patience. I know you've been waiting.
It's time to learn geography
now! Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbs. Yeah, we got a whole new set of intros, outros, and transition slides. Ken made them. Follow him on Instagram, give him a round of applause. Now, when we cover Arab countries, I try really hard to explain how each of them is unique and distinguishable from the others. I mean, clearly a Yemeni will be pretty different from a Lebanese person. So what makes Kuwait? Let me tell you a little story. Once upon a time, there were 2 brothers, Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan. The older one was favored by his adopted father, went to a university, got a good job, built a corporation that employed thousands of people, and made billions. Whereas the younger brother was like,
Ha! Nerd. I'm gonna go like party in the mountains or something and like, I don't know, party and whatever, man.
And that's basically Kyrgyzstan. Lao. Alright guys, we've reached the Baltic once again. If you don't know anything about the Baltics, it basically goes like this. Estonia is a depressed yet attractive nerd girl who lives right next to...
Come play with us, Estonia.
Welcome to the first sister of the creepy Baltic twins.
It's time to learn geography
now! Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbs. Look, I'm sorry I called it the creepy Baltic twins, but it's kind of true. Lafty, if you put Lebanon... Guys, let's be honest. When you think of Africa, you usually think it's either hot or humid or both. But suddenly you step into this country and you're shivering in snow as you wrap yourself in a thick mohair blanket. Welcome to Africa's refrigerator.
It's time to learn geography
now! Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbs. So usually I try to write something clever in these openers. However, I have a special announcement. This is our 96th episode, which means we are officially halfway done with all of the countries of the UN. Yeah!
Wait.
What?
There's only 193 countries in the UN.
Yeah, so?
So the half would be 96.5.
So then the halfway point of this episode will be the halfway point of doing all the countries of the UN. Yeah! Oh, by the way, this country is pronounced Lesotho. All right, my fellow American geography peeps. America, do you realize that our country kind of has like a long-lost, estranged African stepson? Yeah, we really need to like visit and follow up with him more because we kind of did, in a sense, create him. I'm just saying.
It's time to learn geography
now! Hey everyone, welcome to Liberia. Italian-speaking Arabs that just finished nearly half a century of rule under a guy that refused to fly for more than 8 hours, hated elevators, tried to crown himself king of Africa, and had a weird obsession with Condoleezza Rice. Yeah, and that's just the tagline.
It's time to learn geography
now! Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbs. We are back in the Maghreb, North Africa. Okay, so I know, there's more to Libya. Guys, it's here. Some of you have been waiting for this episode for years. Sure, everybody knows about China, Brazil, Germany, and Australia, but how many of you know anything about Little Liechtenstein? Alright everybody, we're finishing up the Baltics with our last Baltic country. If you didn't watch the Latvia episode, it basically goes like this.
Don't play with us, Estonia.
Welcome to the creepier Baltic sister, Lithuania. We are so lucky today because we are doing Luxembourg. Hey everybody, so you know today...
Oh, that's for the terrible puns from last episode.
And that is for Bob Saget.
Bob Saget!
Bob Saget!
Anyway.
It's time to learn geography
now! Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbs. Most people only know one thing about Madagascar. Remember how in the Ghana episode I told you that Ghana was like the perfect starting point for beginners interested in visiting sub-Saharan Africa? Well, Malawi... Well, here we go. Ever since I made the Indonesia episode, you have no idea how many Malaysians were like...
Okay, now that you did our cousins episode, do not mess with ours.
Oh, don't worry, Malaysia. All right, we are making Geography Now history. For the first time, we are nullifying the alphabetical rule. Recently, this country decided to change their name, and as of 2018, the UN has officially taken on the new title. No more Swaziland. Say hello to Eswatini. Hey everybody, GeographyNow.com is finally launched, and since you guys asked for it, we made you guys Geography Now notepads and buttons. Stop by the website if you'd like to get one. Thanks for the support, guys. For years, you guys have been joking over and over by saying, oh, by the time Geography Now gets to the Maldives... Hey everybody, GeographyNow.com is finally launched, and since you guys asked for it, we made you guys Geography Now notepads and buttons. Stop by the website if you'd like to get one. Thanks for the support, guys. Now, if there's one country that holds all the deepest ancient secrets and treasures of historical Africa, you might say Egypt, Ethiopia, which, okay, yeah, those are viable candidates. But try a country with the richest guy that ever existed, with cities flourishing in science, astronomy, and literature, and gold. Looks like good old Jolly Molly. Oh, what's that? Geography Now t-shirts? Yes, you can get one now at geographynow.com. Anyway, oh, this place. It's like the strangest little sovereign island nation with the strangest little language, with the strangest little homes, on the strangest little landscape.
Ah, why thank you.
I said sovereign, your constituent.
Oh, you did not just...
Okay, time to go.
No! Anyway, this episode is about Malta. Oh wow, what is that? We have Geography Now t-shirts? Yeah, you can get them at geographynow.com. Guys, the only way we can open up this episode is with a fair use, safe parody song. Oh, who lives in a radioactive atoll? Invertebrates! And possibly cause a big monster to grow? It's Godzilla! But seriously, this place has some cool stuff, like no copyright law. Come visit if you think that it is a bluff. Marshall Islands! Geography Now t-shirts! Get one, geographynow.com. Oh, this is gonna be a good one. Very few people know anything about Mauritania. Geography Now t-shirts! Get one, geographynow.com. Hey everybody, years ago, do you remember how we did the Comoros episode and I said I couldn't find anybody from Comoros, but I got the next best thing, a dude from Mauritius? Ah, finalmente, hemos llegado al episodio de México. Hey everybody, before you watch this episode, just a little disclaimer. I was stupid and I booked the wrong day at the YouTube space, so we weren't able to film in the studios. So I had to improvise and we filmed in my house. So the next 2 episodes are gonna have the same quality of how we used to film the episodes back in like 2016. Relatively poor echoey audio quality and very visible black backdrop. But I did not want to not upload a video this week, so I had to give you something. I mean, these Geography Now videos are mostly just about the information, right? I'm sorry, guys. But anyway, I tried my best, and I still wanted to give you a video this week. So without further ado, here we go.
It's time to learn geography now!
Want to hear a Micronesia? Hey everybody, so once again, just like the last episode, I was stupid and I booked the wrong day at the YouTube space, so this episode was filmed in my house. The audio quality is not going to be as good, the black backdrop is totally visible, but hey, we got some good information in this episode. Oh, and you can get one of these shirts, The Blood of Those Who Fight for the Freedom, geographynow.com. Anyway, enjoy the episode. Imagine a person who speaks Russian, is Orthodox, eats borscht, and lives in a state that is slowly trying to introduce market enterprise in a partial state-run system. Chances are, you're Russian, right? Nope, Latin. At least in Moldova.
Hey guys, so once again, thanks to a scheduling problem, we will be filming here in my office for the next 2 episodes. Alright, so today we cover Monaco. Now, you guys know I'm half Korean. If you don't know much about East Asia, basically, putting aside all the political differences, at the end of the day, the nearly 2 billion of East Asians like Koreans, Japanese, and Chinese are distant cousins. Then little Mongolia.
It is so great to be back in the Balkans. I actually love researching this place because it's like, you'll never get bored. It's Europe's most dysfunctional family. However, when it comes to Montenegro, Morocco. You know, if the Portuguese-speaking countries were hanging out in a group, it would look kind of like this. Guys, estou entediado. Eu vou sair com meus outros amigos Tanzania, África do Sul. And I'm gonna start speaking English now. Eu nunca deixarei.
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbs. Welcome to Africa's Portuguese-speaking, one-time allied with communist part of the Commonwealth, even though they were never under the British country. Oh, and they're the only country to have all 5 vowels in their name. Off to a great start. Let's jump into the globe now, shall we? When it comes to Africa, location matters, and with Mozambique, Myanmar. Many of you guys in Namibian geography have told me that if you want to make the shape of Namibia...
Hey guys, so this episode is going to be filmed in my office because I didn't have time to book the YouTube space. This is going to be a special one. It's not very often we cover a place like Nauru. You know, after I made the India video, I got a lot of Nepalese people saying,
"You made a mistake. Buddha was not born in India. He was born in Lumbini, which is in Nepal."
Hey guys, so this is gonna be a little awkward. Why? Because 2 years ago, my Dutch friend Vincent, who used to do the animations before I regrettably hired Ken.
Wait, what?
He came and visited here in LA. Long story short, I promised him he could be in the Netherlands episode, so we pre-shot some footage, and this was the intro we made. I flew over. This guy, a real Dutchman, say hi to Vincent. Right here. Hey, Vincent. Hey, look. Vincent, I know the Dutch are tall, but just step down from the box, okay? Just step down.
You get off of your box then. Good for me.
I can never top those days. Oh, and this episode is on the Netherlands. Now, when I think of New Zealand, Niger. We have reached the powerhouse of Africa. It's where Africans from all over migrate to make something of themselves. Ethiopia might be the wise monk master that all Africans kind of respect, but Nigeria... Now, I asked you guys, the Nicaraguan geography peeps, if Central America was a family, what member would Nicaragua be? Hey everyone, so I'm excited for this one. We recently did a geography in Oslo, Norway. Now, all over Arabia, you probably noticed this trend going on in which many of the countries are like building these opulent metal skyscrapers and lavish neon lights and glass palaces. I mean, that's great and all, but sometimes you just want that dusty mud brick wooden vaulted marketplace with colorful jewels, rugs, and spices and incense. Well, you're in luck, because if you want a real, true, hardcore, traditional Arab setting, Oman. All right, Pakistan. All right, Palau. In the Latin American world, Panama. Do you believe dinosaurs exist? Well, if you want to try and find one, Papua New Guinea.
All right, class, do we have everyone here? Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, almost missed you there, El Salvador, Cuba, Ecuador. I think that's everybody. Let's get on this field trip, eh? What? Where'd you come from?
I've been here the whole time. My name is on the list, see?
Yeah. You're the one that talks weird and drinks yerba mate, huh?
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbs. Paraguay. Okay, so you've probably heard of Peru. If you don't know anything about Asia, the Philippines... Alright, we've reached Poland. Some countries try to fight the ocean. Others are afraid of the ocean. Portugal... Here's a tip. Just eat something with artificial raspberry flavoring. Okay, why is that? You just ate beaver anus extract. If any of you have ever had a family reunion, you all know what it's like to have a Romania. Hey everyone, we've reached Russia. Hey, Singapore.
Yeah?
Hey, come here, all right? Meet Rwanda. Hey guys, so on this channel, the Caribbean countries usually get the least amount of views, and they're kind of pushed off to the side with minimal anticipation because everyone thinks the Caribbean nations are all the same. So you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna go to this country. I'm gonna get good footage, interview the people, and put them in the spotlight. We are covering the Caribbean triplets, the Saints. And today we cover the smallest nation in the Americas, St. Kitts and Nevis. All right, we are covering the 3 Saint triplet countries of the Caribbean, and today we cover the sister triplet along with her 2 brothers, St. Lucia. Now, I'm gonna admit, before visiting, I knew little to nothing about St. Vincent and the Grenadines. If Polynesia was a family, Samoa, imagine you're a dude running away from some guy trying to kill you. You escape pirates. You start a new life on the beach. Then, just when beach life is going great, some crazy lady you never met claims that you her baby daddy and you just left without paying no damn child support. So you run away to the mountains. You build a fortress. Then a bunch of other runaways in a similar situation to yours join you and you become a community. In a very butchered, condensed format, that's basically how this place became a country. Welcome to the world's best hiding spot, keeping it down low, San Marino. All right, São Tomé and Príncipe, or
The land of the two mosques. I actually had the opportunity to travel here a couple years ago and get a slight taste of the city and countryside. There's so much information that goes in this video and it cannot be easily covered, so I'll try my best. Saudi Arabia. Alright, back in Africa, this time Senegal. Alright, out of all my subscribers, I think the ones that have been the most patient have been the Serbians. Ever since I made the Albania episode and had the pleasant experience of realizing the ramifications of making any kind of content pertaining to the Balkan sub-region, Serbians have been emailing me for years wanting to help with the Serbia. Well, we just did the Serbia episode, and it feels great knowing that we are back to doing countries where we don't have to do insane backstories riddled in Balkan Slavic conflict. In fact, this country doesn't even have an indigenous population. It's one of the few rare countries that nobody lived on until modern history. And since then, they've become one of the top richest countries in Africa. And why is it always the certain small island nations that have economic booms?
Proximity to rich countries while offering obscure high-end luxury tourism?
I don't know. Geographic advantage on a trade choke point with strict mobilizing policies?
I don't know, like weird finance loopholes.
A desirable resource that we forgot to put into a pension fund? Oh Seychelles. Sierra Leone. Alright, Singapore. Hey everybody, we are back to geography now. Good to see you again. So this episode, Slovakia. A long time ago, one of you guys sent me this shirt. I made it into a gym shirt, and I don't know, I guess I'm a big deal in Slovenia. Back to Oceania. We've done Fiji, we've done Papua New Guinea, and now we're covering sibling 3 of 4 Melanesian countries. Alright, just let me know when you need me. In any case, the Solomon Islands. This shirt is so cool, it's a Somalia. Okay, let's see if I got this. Ikaka lazi krika krika kwaze kwaka waka ukokoka ikaka la kabaleka ikrini la tibalika la kaula ukokoko.
It's time to learn geography.
No! Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbs. Once again, this shirt was made by Geography Ruba from UnityShirtsShop.com. She makes these cool handmade African flag logo shirts. Oh, and she specifically made this one with the Geography Now logo in the back for me. Oh, thank you, Ruba. Oh, and don't forget, you can also get Geography Now merchandise at GeographyNow.com. Just a heads up. Anyway, South Africa. Alright, Spain, the Pearl of the Indian Ocean, the Teardrop of India, the Isle of Dharma, Ceylon, Taprobana. Alright, here we are, our last set of twin countries. First it was the Congos, then it was the Koreas, we did the Caribbean Saint triplets, and finally, the Sudans. So much of Africa's backstory is rooted in Sudan. Well, this is it. Now that the Sudan episode has been done, we reach our last and final twin country. Born in 2011, this is the newest country on Earth. And it all begins with some very tall people in a very large swamp.
It's time to learn geography.
No! Hey everybody, get a Geography Now mug at geographynow.com. It's not selling out if it's your merch. Oh, and speaking of which, these shirts are made from UnityShirtsShop.com. Thank you, Ruba from the Sudan episode for making these. If you'd like one of these, support Ruba's business at UnityShirtsShop.com. Now, South Sudan. All right, Suriname. Sweden. All right, we have now reached Switzerland. All right, we are back to the Levant, or Bilad al-Sham. In the Arab world family series. All right, Tajikistan. All right, Tanzania. So I don't even really have to give much of an introduction. You've all heard of Thailand. Hey everyone. So for a while, I've been kind of low-key super fascinated with Togo. All right, first off, it's pronounced Tonga. Hey guys, before we get into this episode, we're doing something a little different. Caleb actually has a studio, and this is what it looks like. It's got this really cool vintage aesthetic, and if you are interested in finding this place, you can find it at vintagestudio.la on Instagram, and you can book it out on Peerspace, link in the description below. So we've done this before, let's do it again. If the Caribbean was a family, you know, Jamaica would be the one in charge of the music, Bahamas in charge of the guest list. You got Team Mofongo, Team Baguette, Team Amsterdam, you got Team Crumpet, the Bougie crew, the Homeboy crew, and once again, Dominica is quietly reading a book in the corner, and then just when the party starts getting good, the twins arrive. Decked out, these guys came to the party prepared. Welcome to Trinidad and Tobago.